they were advised by their lawyers not to say a word, and they didn't.
Now it's called taking or pleading the fifth, and it's your constitutional right. But when does keeping silent really work? Our consumer lawyer, Eric Seidel, shows us the legal strategy behind staying quiet.
By now, you've probably seen this video, the now famous Tariq and Mikhail Salahi facing the bright lights of a congressional hearing. But answers about whether they snuck into a White House dinner were far from forthcoming.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Salahi. Did you wear a tuxedo that night? Are you going to take the fifth on that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully assert my rights.
Let me ask you a question. Were you there?
On the advice of counsel.
Are you here today, Mr. Salahi? Are you here right now? You got to get an answer from your attorney on that?
I showed the video to Bay Area attorney Kendall Almarico.
That's classic.
From the scripted statements the Salahis read.
It actually says that on the advice of counsel.
To their lawyer whispering advice in their ear.
That's actually pretty interesting.
While Almarico says these actions are far from standard courtroom behavior.
On advice of counsel, I respectfully assert my right to remain silent and decline to answer your question.
Invoking the Fifth Amendment was within their rights.
Taking the Fifth Amendment and not making yourself subject to criminal penalties is a pretty smart idea.
But in front of Congress?
Anytime you're testifying before Congress, before a court, or any type of system where you're under oath, you can certainly assert your Fifth Amendment right to not self-incriminate. So it's totally appropriate for them to do this in front of Congress.
And while remaining silent does work in the sense you won't provide testimony that can put you behind bars, if the Salahis are charged criminally, Almarico doesn't believe the Fifth alone will get them off the hook.
There are other people who will testify, particularly in this case, who saw them at the event, who will fill in the details and provide those details.
But what about other situations, ones you might come across every day?
You can only take the Fifth when you are under oath providing testimony. You can't use it in front of a police officer who pulls you over for a ticket or any other situation.
So you may not be able to take the Fifth for everything, but Almarico has another word for not incriminating yourself in other situations.
That's not really using the Fifth Amendment. That's just using common sense.
Eric Seidel, Fox 13 News.
Eric says if the Salahis were asked to testify against each other, they could also stay silent by invoking what's called spousal privilege. It essentially says you can't be forced to testify against your husband or your wife, and there are exceptions, especially for child or domestic abuse cases.